I used to hate reading. A few years ago, I thought reading was kind of pointless. The only books I read were the ones I was forced to read for school. And before that, I only read the occasional fiction book. Nonfiction was the farthest thing from me. But because of a chance event a few years ago, I stumbled across audiobooks and I picked up a nonfiction book. And that book changed my world. Over the next few years, I read over 100 books in nonfiction about meditation, about the mind, about happiness, about productivity, about wealth creation, and it changed my entire life. I became more happy, more productive, more fulfilled. I had more energy. I made more money. All these things happened to me, and much more than that. Now, how is this possible from nonfiction books? Well, it's because I realized the power of seeking out the best, most successful people on earth. Now, went out there and I curated and found the most relevant books out there. And what I found was shocking. I found that the more books I discovered, the more books were out there. And my reading list soon grew to over 2,000 books. I found that there were celebrities, stars, hundreds of billionaires, hundreds of people who had achieved the top performance, people who had gone from broken homeless to millionaire status through certain principles and elements that most people don't implement into their lives, whether it was meditation or mindsets or specific productivity hacks. And this revolutionized my world, and I started finding these amazing authors, these amazing books. And the most surprising thing was that a lot of these people, no one had heard of them, and very few had read their books. And this was oftentimes the case because a lot of these people, they wrote their books and they depended on word of mouth to get them out. Because they didn't write them to make money. They wrote them after sometimes decades worth of service and work, and finally reaching the pinnacle of the top, going through sometimes the worst possible obstacles in life: poverty, lack of education, lack of intelligence, gang violence, discrimination, all of these things and more, to finally reach the level they were at and finally show the secrets and principles that brought them there. Now, what I found in these books and all these things are not common sense. And I think there's so many fallacies of the average human that prevents them from even having an open mind to listen to some of this stuff. They say things like, oh, that's common sense, or, oh, there's no point for me to spend 10 minutes reading this book when I can watch an hour of television. And they think that all this is common sense or it's not worth their time. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're preventing themselves from getting out there while the successful realize this value and they get more and more ahead because they're learning every day from these books. Now, I'm reading a book a week. If I'm really good, maybe a book every 2 days. You know, some people say they can do a book a day. I feel like that's usually, them skimming the book and, not really getting the full meat of the book and taking notes. But think about it. Over the course of a year, 5 years, 10 years, how ahead can you get? And then the other issue is they choose the wrong book. They don't know about these books out there. There's these books that are revolutionary. These books where they literally write down, oh, if I only knew this at the age of 20, I would have saved 50 years of my life. I would have made money much quicker. I would have been much more efficient. I would have been much happier. I would have been able to spend much more free time doing what I wanted to do and feeling more productive and energized and great. So that's basically what I've been doing. And for the last few years, I've created a YouTube channel where every week I give you some of the best insights I extracted from some of these books that not many people have really heard of. Oftentimes they required a lot of deep research, a lot of deep digging, listening to interviews from successful people until they start recommending books. And it just gets crazier and crazier. The more books I discover, the more books I find are out there. And there's some crazy impactful books that are not known by many people or read. And some of these books, literally, they have changed the game for people. They have made people go from broke to wealthy. And, it's not a simple hack. It's not a get rich quick thing. Sometimes it will take, 4 to 10 years of implementing these strategies. But that's worth it. It's better than sitting there on your computer, angry at the world because you're broke and choosing to spend your time watching television that's not going to get you anywhere. So that's basically what I want to say. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, you can. And you can subscribe to it. It's youtube.com/willyouLaugh. It's spelled correctly. And I will see you later. Peace.